Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ibug Mac training course. Today is February 9th, 2021. And as always, I'm your instructor, Chanel Allen. Before we explore, go on a voyage in Safari, we do have some Ibug announcements to cover. Mainly this week, we have our book club on Thursday, and I forgot to mention it before, so hopefully you've heard it in some of our other events, but we are reading The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Apparently it's only a 4-hour read on Bard, so you still have time to read it if you'd like to join us. And on Friday, we have Ibug Night at the Virtual Movies, beginning at 7:30 with the social and the movie at 8. And then Sunday, we have the iBug Cafe. I am looking forward to this one. It's all about indoor navigation and LiDAR and things like that. And that begins at 4 p.m. Central, 4 to 6 p.m. And that is our announcements for this week. Don't forget to join us every Monday night for iBug Buzz from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. Central. I'm just getting the questions ready. I do apologize. And then we are giving away, well, not really giving away, but you could enter by donating $10. You could enter a chance to win the latest and greatest Apple Watch. And if you even buy 6 tickets, you can pay $50. So you get a little bit of a deal there the more you buy. Find out more details about that on our website, ibugtoday.org. All right, so I decided, to randomize these Finder questions a bit because it kind of gets old just going from 1 through whatever and seeing how far we go. So I used the A-Lady to help me in this endeavor, and we have about 10 questions. And so we will get started. The first one, what is Spotlight and how do you perform a search? And you should be able to unmute.
This is Marion.
Yeah, Marion.
It's Command Space Bar.
Yep.
And the important thing to remember is that's a toggle. So if you want to get out of it, you have to hit Command Space Bar again. And we were talking about it, and to me it seemed kind of like a Siri twin. You can ask it things you would normally ask Siri. I use Siri a lot, so that's how it.
Definitely. Okay, I didn't know about closing it with Command Space. I always just do Escape or Command W, but hey, even I can learn something new. That's great.
Well, I thought Rita said that she couldn't get out of it, and it was frustrating her, and I thought you had to get out of it with Command Space.
All right. Well, I will double check on that, but I don't think I've had that problem. All right. The next question, if you forget which folder is open or has focus, what can you do to determine your location in the Finder?
This is Nancy.
Yes, Nancy.
VOF2.
Yay, very good. I was about to say, to give another hint, it's kind of a review from our first and second lessons. So very good. Okay. What is the difference between tabs and windows in terms of keyboard navigation? And welcome, Rita. And we are answering questions. So what is the difference between tabs and windows in terms of keyboard navigation?
Audio now unmuted.
This is Rosanna.
Yes, Rosanna.
I think I know the answer to this.
Okay.
I'm not positive. The tags were like colored kind of things, kind of like tags you would put on a folder, and you could, arrow through them, where the windows are more like folders that you would, tab through like you would on, regular folders.
Actually, I'd said tabs and windows. So yeah, tags, you can create them, but tabs are actually there are many tabs in one window. And you would navigate between those with Control Tab. But if you have different windows open, you use Command Accent.
Oh, wait,
So
let me-
hopefully that makes sense. Was somebody trying to say something?
Oh, it was Nancy. I was just gonna give that answer. Is it Control T? I thought it was Control T, or Command
No.
T to go through the tabs.
Command T creates a new tab, but it's Control Tab that goes through. Yeah, Command T creates a new tab. All right. Okay, how do you open a file or folder both in list and column views?
Jason Mendorino has joined the meeting.
This is Rita.
Yes, Rita.
Command O or Command down arrow?
Yeah. And then in column view, you can also press right arrow to open a folder.
Okay, got it.
All right, awesome. Name the commands for copying and pasting. And also, how do you move rather than paste a file or folder to a new location?
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Yes.
Dorothy!
Dorothy, go ahead.
Oh, it was Nancy.
Oh,
Oh, Nancy,
okay.
silly.
Okay. I thought it didn't quite sound like Dorothy. Okay. Yes, Nancy, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm being silly.
That's okay.
Command C copies.
Yep.
Command V pastes it,
Mhm.
and Command Option V moves it.
Yep. Yeah, I was going to say, we just went over that in our little office hours time. All right. Awesome.
Mhm.
How do you move to the first and last items in a table or list?
Hmm. This is Rosanna.
Yeah, Rosanna.
Is it option up arrow or option down arrow?
Yes, very good. See, you're not as stuck as you think. Many of you,
Yay,
think, oh, I don't understand.
Rosanna.
Thank you.
It's all of you, you really do know a lot. Okay. But of course, more practice makes more perfect. Okay, what is an alias?
Oh, I know that one.
Let's see who else wants to answer. Do we have anybody else who wants to answer? All
Well,
right.
this is Marion. It's
Oh,
a
Marion.
shortcut.
Yes,
It's the
very
same as a
good.
shortcut.
Yep. I guess Alexa picked easy questions for Oops, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I
thank
didn't mean to set the
you.
A lady off. I'm so sorry. Okay. How do you return to the previous or containing folder?
Hmm.
It's Rita.
Yes, Rita, go ahead.
Okay, I think I'm not sure if I'm right on this. Command accent cycles between files within a folder, correct?
Command accent cycles between different windows, whether that's in the Finder or in a program like TextEdit. So in TextEdit moves between different documents. In the Finder, it might move between different open folders.
Okay, so then go ahead. I don't
All
know.
right. Does anyone who we kind of just reviewed this question earlier, does anyone want to answer? Or was that more confusing? I think I tried to clarify when Nancy had that
This
question.
is Nancy, and I should know the answer to this now, right?
Mhm.
So you're going back to the folder that you were in before.
Right.
So you can use let's see. If you're using Command Shift I, that gets you into your iCloud folder. And oh gosh, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm embarrassed to say this because I'm the one who asked that question.
That's okay. All right. So what we do, let's say, you're in iCloud and you go into Documents. So if you're in column view, you use right arrow to open Documents. If you're in list view, you use Command down arrow or Command O. If you want to return to documents, you would either do Command up arrow if you're in list view or left arrow if you're in column view. Technically, you can still do the left arrow in list view, but I find it easier just to compartmentalize. One view, you do one thing, and another view, you do another. But does that make sense? Maybe, if we have some time, we can try to go through more folders, but it took me a long time to understand the Finder as well. It's a process.
So
Oh.
list view, you have to press Command and the arrows to go up and down. Maybe that's what the problem I was having, because I thought you could just use the arrows when you're in Finder.
Okay. Herbie, would you like to try to explain this? Put the TA on the spot, everybody.
All right, so what you would do is you use your arrow keys if you're just wanting to see what is in the folder. So like in my Finder, I have Dropbox, when it opens, so I see the different folders that I have. When I want to open one of those folders, if I'm in list view, I would do that's when I would do Command down arrow to open the folder. And if I want to get out of it, I would do Command up arrow. And if I'm in column view, that's when I would use right arrow to open and left arrow to close. I think that's a little bit easier to remember. So yeah, you're just...
But then inside the folder, to see the documents in that folder, is just the up and down arrows.
Yes. But
Okay.
you have the Command key if you're in list view and you're wanting to open the folder.
Open a folder. Oh, thank you. Okay.
So Command, you're basically, think of Command key as like you're commanding it to do something, in this case, open. Whereas just the arrow keys by themselves, you're just looking. So
Okay,
Good one.
thank you.
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
good. Well, I hope it's a good one, because I think we should have it as a question again next week. Oh.
Uh-oh.
So this is Nancy. Can I just ask, so if you're in column view, can you
Yes.
still use the up and down arrows to see the files, or do you have to use
Yes.
left and okay?
Oh, yes. But then the only difference is you get to use left and right arrow to expand or collapse in this case. It's not called open and close, but...
List view still expands, but it doesn't open, so then you have to use the Command down arrow. But column view, pressing just the arrow keys do expand things. So I probably lost everybody on that. Did that make sense to you, Herbie?
Kind of.
Okay, well,
That made sense to me.
okay.
Expand
Yes, made
on
sense to me.
columns with the right and left arrows,
Yep.
and you can't do that with lists. So you know how I would think of it is like expanding, the column goes across the page, and to shrink it, you come back with the left arrow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you're
Like
going
a
up
flow
and down
chart.
through the list when you want to see what's in that particular column.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been talking about all these things with the Finder. Here's an easy one. What is the Finder?
Jason hasn't answered a question.
Ooh, Jason. Uh-oh, yeah. Are you in a position to answer, Jason?
You have to unmute yourself, Jason.
Yes, I'm sorry. We do
He
Command.
is not showing audio connected.
Oh. Okay.
Huh.
All right.
But I don't think Dorothy's answered a question, or maybe she has, or it's been a while.
One, but it's her turn. Dorothy, you know
Yes.
that one?
You said what's in Finder or
No, what
is
is the Finder? What is the Finder?
Okay, then no, I don't know that one. I know what's in my Finder.
Yeah. Well, if you think of what's in it, files and folders. So the Finder is the files and folders management system or storage system on your computer. All right.
Okay.
Kind of like in Windows, you have Windows Explorer, and on iOS you have the Files app. So it's just it's the name of the file management system on your computer.
You know what? We've described it. I described it during our group session as a filing cabinet, and
Oh, there you go.
you know, you have all of your papers in your filing cabinet, and you open a drawer, and then you have the hanging folder, and then within that you can have separate manila folders or folders, and then documents in each folder, and so it's organized. That's how you organize your papers and your documents and files and all your other media and stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so would that count applications and AirDrop?
Yep.
That doesn't sound like files and folders, though.
Well, applications are files because you have they end in
The
.app.
computer runs the file.
Yep.
Yeah.
There also
But
is a
you're right.
dedicated applications folder, which does list applications, so you can definitely think of them as files. So
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
First Queen
Rosanna.
has joined the meeting.
Yes. Oh, Jason has. Yes, Rosanna, go ahead.
I just have a question. The Finder holds your files, like all your files, like you would in a cabinet kind of thing. But so does your dock. So what is the actual difference between your
Okay.
Finder and your dock?
Your dock does not hold your files. It holds shortcuts. You can have shortcuts to your folders on the dock, but those folders are not actually contained on the dock. And I don't think you actually even have a folder on your Mac called dock. So the dock it's kind of like this separate entity. It is not. The dock is the place where you launch applications. So it's kind of the equivalent of the Windows Start menu or Windows, more like the Windows Start menu.
Okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense. Okay.
Yep.
and Jason
Everything
now
else
is
is
connected
being
on a
Finder.
separate account, so and it shows he has audio. So now you can pick on him to answer
Yay!
questions.
Okay.
Can you
So,
hear me?
Jason, what is the command to open an app's preferences?
This is Jason. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. I was having issues.
Okay. Well, that's too bad.
Apps preferences. That
Yep.
is command comma.
Yay. Very good. All right. Everybody gets an A today. Okay. Well, we are going to go into Safari. So let me go ahead and mute. And okay. So one thing I can definitely relate to being a Mac user and just wanting to or user of anything and just get started using the stuff and then figure out the settings later. That totally, or as I need them, that totally makes sense. But as a teacher, I have to try to organize things in a way that they kind of build on one another. We are going back to the web category in the Voiceover Utility. And then we'll talk about the Safari window layout and preferences and things because it's important to understand, where the address bar is in relation to bookmarks. And you have to maybe press VOJ once or to the website content. And then you might press VOJ or VO right. So it's important to understand where these things are in relation to one another. And then we will do a little bit of a preview of one of the simplest ways to navigate in Safari. So let's get started. I'm opening the Voiceover Utility with VOF8. Spotlight, I was going to demo how to open the utility with that because you can open an app, but it's just not being very cooperative. So here we go with VOF8. Oh, I should share my audio. All right, I had it going earlier. Sorry about that. Let's see. All right.
You have
There we
started
go.
computer.
All right, so I went
Button.
ahead and opened the Voiceover Utility. So I'm going to
Stop
Command
share.
Tab
Voiceover Utility window.
and type
Voiceover
W
Utility.
for web.
Web.
All right.
Jason Mandarino has left the meeting.
All right, and I thought I turned my alerts off. I do apologize, everyone. All right. VO right.
Utility categories table. Web. Selected.
Okay, so we web, and now I will VO right.
Utility categories, navigation, selected, tab,
Okay,
1 of 3.
so the navigation stuff, it's kind of like useful to know, but I wouldn't really recommend changing anything in here right
General,
away.
web rotor, DOM order navigate web pages by, selected, radio button, 1 of 2.
I would just leave it, that one as it is. You navigate web pages the way they were intended to be navigated. Groups just tries to, group items, and somehow it thinks that's more accessible. I don't know where websites where that actually is more useful.
Grouping items navigate
So
web pages by,
I just
radio
leave it
button,
at the first
DOM order
option.
navigate web pages by, selected, group items within when navigating web tables, unchecked, checkbox.
Same thing with web tables, or I think the grouping in there gives you more of a summary, and then when you interact, you get more of the details of the content, but I have that
Speak
unchecked.
column and row numbers when navigating web tables, unchecked, checkbox.
Okay, the only time I ever wanted web tables to speak row and column numbers is when I was attempting to play Sudoku. Otherwise, the row and column number thing is really kind of more of a confusion hindrance than a help. I wish I could figure out how to turn it off in numbers, but that doesn't really relate to Safari, but it can still be a little bit annoying.
Always.
And I actually think that one was checked by default, so I unchecked that.
Always. Navigate images, pop-up button.
Okay, navigate images. Sometimes you'll come across pages and you'll be arrowing or whatever, and it just says image or image link or link image, whatever. So here you have the option to choose, and I'll press space.
Menu check mark.
Whether you navigate.
Check mark, always.
So that's always.
With descriptions.
Or so you're only, if you're using your arrow keys, then you're only going to come across images with descriptions. So alt text, whatever, like the Ibug one, picture of a ladybug, whatever.
Never.
Or never. You could just say, I don't want to be bothered with images, even if they are links. You just don't want to be bothered. So sometimes people who are doing accessibility testing might choose always to find out, which ones are labeled, or, how the non-labeled ones relate to the rest of the content. But
with descriptions.
We can probably just choose with descriptions. So then I would just press enter.
With descriptions. Navigate images, pop-up button.
Let's go back to, let's see. Let's press tab.
Enable live regions. Checked. Checkbox.
Oh, we still have one more category. Oops. Live regions or preference. Live regions are areas of a web page that update frequently, and they're constantly refreshing. Maybe like stocks on a website, or a couple years ago, I was trying to help somebody with a Walmart website on the Mac, and it was the grocery delivery, and you just had this non-relevant information keep being spoken by VoiceOver, and it was driving us crazy. And I think we figured out that if we unchecked the live regions, that it made our lives much, much easier. All of these things, by the way, you can toggle on and off using VoiceOver commands help. So if you were to just do VOHH, type in regions, you would probably find this setting. So you don't necessarily need to come to the VoiceOver utility for these, but they may be, something you want to try later on if you're having difficulties with a website. All right.
Always allow keyboard commands to navigate websites. Checked. Checkbox.
Always allow keyboard commands to navigate websites. There's no harm in having this checked. There's no harm in having this unchecked. If you do check it, you might get a little bit of a warning, but I have never found websites that have keys that conflict with the VoiceOver commands.
Navigation, selected, tab.
All right, and I press tab, and now we're back at navigation. I'll right arrow.
General, tab, 2 of 3.
And press space to select it. Okay, here are some things that you may definitely want to change right away.
Speak web page summary when loading a new web page. Unchecked. Checkbox.
Okay, this may be checked. Speak web page summary when loading a new web page. It will tell you things like 8 headings, 12 links, 3 buttons, 4 form fields, 5 visited links, 2 tables, 9, blah, 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 depending on how many things you have checked in the web rotor. I've never found that info useful because it doesn't exactly, unless, I let you read through the web page, which also I don't find useful, then you're just kind of guessing as to where those links and things are. And I like to interact directly, interact meaning more
Speak
than, the VoiceOver interaction, just engage with or whatever the content without it necessarily all being read to me. I may active screen reader listener rather than a passive one. But some people do like to hear the web page in its entirety. If I'm trying to get quickly to the contents of an article and I don't enable the reader mode, then I want to be able to just use my quick keys or the rotor to navigate to what I want. So
Automatically speak the web page when loading a new web page. Unchecked. Checkbox.
Yep, I have that unchecked, and we were kind of talking about those two things together.
Speak progress. While a web page loads, pop-up button.
It could be useful to hear the progress and percentages.
Help button.
All right, and we will tab.
Search text utility categories. Help button.
Oh.
Search text utility categories.
Okay, here tab is just not being very reliable.
Web selected.
So we will
navigation tab 1 of 3. General
go.
Selected tab.
I'm now
2 of
doing
3.
via right because the tab was skipping over this little area where we choose these categories or these tabs.
Web rotor
so
tab 3 of
I'll
3.
press VO space
Selected.
on web rotor and
select a checkbox to enable or disable an item. To reorder the items, use command up arrow and command down arrow.
All right.
Item order table.
I'm going to attempt to explain what some of these things are because I think there are a few of you who have had some vision and you're maybe not accustomed to hearing what the descriptions that screen readers give for headings. To you, they may just be certain, bolded text that's spaced differently or whatever. And so we're going to try to describe
select a checkbox to enable or item order table. Quick nav off.
My quick nav was on. That was annoying. Oh, because I was in Safari. Okay, we'll get to that later. But
radio groups checked.
Okay,
headings
let's go to the top.
Checkbox.
So headings. Headings are basically areas. They're kind of like chapter titles. So the content under a heading will hopefully relate to it, and you might browse through the headings to kind of get a general overview. This web page talks about iBug. We have the welcome, we have about, and then we go into some of the descriptions of our events. And so those are all different heading categories or titles.
Links checked. Checkbox.
Links, if you click on a link or VO space or enter, it either takes you to another website or a different location of the same website.
Visited links checked. Checkbox.
Visited links are those that you visited recently, and I was always a big fan of clearing my website history. I did not like leaving my history around. The problem is, though, that clears the visited links. So one great thing you can do in Safari, if you've been to a web page often, is do V for visited link. And that kind of is one way of getting quickly to what you might need to access. So there can be an advantage in keeping around your Safari or any web browser history.
Form controls checked. Checkbox.
Okay, form controls are basically areas where you can type text. And I know we also have text edit fields, but I think of form fields as the same thing. I'm not quite sure how they differ. Other than that, in another screen reader, I can access more by pressing on the letter F, and in Mac, it just strictly goes to those things where you can type in some text. So I don't know.
Articles checked. Checkbox.
All right, articles. You may have noticed on the AppleVis website that they use headings, but then blog articles or blog posts, guides, whatever, may begin with the term or the little thing Voiceover announces as article. And that can be useful to try to find on a web page. I've only really found AppleVis to make good use of them. Sometimes people, they develop for the web and they think they're doing a good job, and they may not use these elements correctly or have them labeled correctly by screen readers, and so it can kind of cause some more problems. But that's why you have to learn lots of different ways of navigating.
Web spots checked. Checkbox.
All right, web spots are kind of like landmarks. I'm sure that some of you will probably come up with a better analogy in your study group, but landmarks are, if you're walking on a route for orientation mobility, maybe the post is a landmark and your house is just across the street from the post. I don't know, but they're basically, you can place them on links or buttons or text or whatever that you want to jump to quickly without going through the rest of the website. And so you can set a web spot with VoiceOver. In other screen readers, it's called place markers or temporary place markers.
Auto web spots checked checkbox.
Auto web spots are those that VoiceOver thinks might be important. It tries to parse out the page, and again, it can be useful to use auto web spots if you're not getting anywhere with headings or links or whatever, because they might, take you to different sections.
Tables checked checkbox.
Tables, that's
Landmarks checked.
pretty
Tables checked
common.
checkbox. Landmarks checked checkbox.
All right, landmarks are those areas that a web page author may feel are important. So maybe you have the home, about us, navigation. I've never found landmarks to be that useful. My philosophy with the web rotor is leave many things or nearly everything in case I may need them. But if that's overwhelming, you may just want, for example, headings and links and form fields, or headings and links and buttons in your rotor. You can uncheck all the things you don't want, and we'll be getting to some things that I can uncheck in just a bit.
Text fields checked checkbox.
Like I said, text fields, I'm not quite sure how they are different from form fields, but I always use the form fields when filling out a form on the web.
Lines checked checkbox.
Lines, I don't know why that's part of the web rotor, but it is.
Lists checked checkbox.
Lists, so just like an outline on a website, you can have lists, maybe lists of links, or here are the system requirements, and then list with 4 items or things like that.
Frames checked checkbox.
Frames are, I don't really know exactly what a frame looks like, other than that maybe it goes around something in real life, but on a web page, frames contain extra content. You might have an ad on a website pop up in a frame, or one time my password manager would present me with password choices in a frame, or you might get some dialogues from they're not that common, but you can have them in your rotor.
Live regions checked checkbox.
Live regions, we've talked about those.
Buttons checked checkbox.
Buttons. I maybe, we could move buttons up, for example. To move something up, we press Command up arrow. And don't worry, there won't be a question about that. But, actually, I don't know. I don't remember. But you'll hear the same thing whether you interact or not. VoiceOver is not descriptive. So I did not interact with the table, but it wouldn't matter if I did, because when you move something up, it just says
Move up.
Move up by pressing Command up arrow.
Move up, move up, move up.
So I could keep pressing it, but I'd ultimately need to check. I could press down arrow to see the item that's below.
Lines checked checkbox.
Okay, and up arrow.
Buttons checked
That's
checkbox.
buttons, and buttons is below.
Text fields checked
Because I
checkbox.
pressed up arrow. So we could
Buttons
keep going
checked
up a
checkbox.
bit.
Move up, move up, move up, move up. Web spots checked. Buttons checked checkbox.
All right, below web spots, I guess that's fine. Okay, so let's go to the bottom. Now, just in this table or in the Finder, we're using that same command to go to the top of the table or the bottom. Option up arrow would take us to the very top. Option down arrow
Radio groups checked checkbox.
takes us to the bottom. And I don't think I want radio groups at the bottom, so I could move them up. We won't worry.
Non-visited links checked checkbox.
Okay, non-visited links, I don't really find those important, because you don't really, if you go to links and visited links, that pretty much covers everything. So if we wanted to get rid of it from the rotor, we'd press space to uncheck. Okay, and it is unchecked. VoiceOver just doesn't announce that.
Check non-visited links. Unchecked. Checkboxes checked checkbox.
You have checkboxes.
Images checked checkbox.
Okay, I don't really care about images. So let's uncheck images, and for the sake of organization, we'll just move it to the very bottom. So I'll continue to press Command
Nancy
down arrow.
Stevens has joined the meeting. Move down. Move down.
All right, and I keep pressing Command down arrow, but it doesn't say move down. So VoiceOver will quit announcing, when it can't move down any further.
Non-visited radio groups checked checkbox.
Okay, radio groups are maybe like a yes and no button, something where you only have to choose. You can only choose one, whereas checkboxes you can check or tick or whatever, as many as you want. All right, that is the web rotor, and we're done with, well, let's see, how are we on time?
February
it is
9th, 7:34 p.m.
Okay, I'll quickly just show you quick nav, and that in the voiceover utility, we'll do VO home
Toolbar.
and then VO right
Voiceover
to get to the
Utility. Utility categories.
categories.
Table.
VO right
Web.
again.
Select
C for
commanders.
commanders. VO right.
Trackpad. Select numpad. Tab keyboard. Quick nav tab.
Quick
4
nav.
of
VO
4.
space on
Selected.
quick nav. And
Enable quick nav unchecked. Checkbox.
okay, so you can enable quick nav here.
Allow toggling of quick nav using left and right arrow keys. Checked. Checkbox.
I would recommend just toggling it. I only use quick nav in Safari, and I would recommend that. Basically, it's a method of navigation that doesn't involve pressing the VO keys. It's similar to the control option lock, but not quite, because you could still hold down control and option if you wanted. It just gives you a way of not having to do that, but you still need to interact. The interaction command is a little bit simpler, but I find quick nav, unless you're going to use the VO, or actually unless in list views and things, you have to interact more when it's enabled. So I don't really recommend it unless you're on the web. But here you go. You have the
Allow toggling of quick nav using
allow
left and right
toggling of
arrow
quick
keys.
nav.
Checked. Check. Enable single key web page navigation when using quick nav. Checked. Checkbox.
If you did your Safari reading, the article mentions coming in here to enable single key website navigation. That's my preferred method. That's like B for button, L for link, H for heading. And so that's, but you can also toggle it with VOQ. VOQ pressed toggles it on or off.
Assign commands button.
And then you have assign
voiceover
commands. And
in dialog, quick arrows, modifier key, pop-up
the only
button.
thing I would
Select
recommend, if
single
you want to, you can't change any of the arrow key assignments. But
Menu space,
if you
single
go
keys.
to single keys, then you can not only come in here to learn what they are, but add a letter for something if you think there's something missing that should be in quick nav. Okay, let's quit with Command
Quit
Q.
voiceover utility.
Oh, oops, that's not a good, okay. Sometimes when you go into a commander and then you kind of go to edit the commands or add, you first have to go to the done button.
Done button, default.
VO space.
Assign commands button.
And then I can do Command Q.
Assign zoom us. System
All right.
dialog.
We're back in Zoom.
Stop
Okay,
share
let's
button.
go to Safari, and to do that, I'll go into my dock. And I know some of you have created a keyboard command for Keyboard Commander, but for me, it's just as easy to do VOD, SA, enter.
Zoom us. System dialog. Safari. Untitled window.
And I think they
toolbar.
still open at about the same speed. It used to be opening in the dock was a little faster, but not so much now. Okay, let's start at the very, so we have a command, VO command home is what's called go to top of window.
Close button.
We were using VO home earlier, and that is go to beginning. And I was trying to remember the difference between these two the other day, so I actually turned on my keyboard help and I typed each command and to find out what they did. Yeah, to find out what each one does. So VO home would have just taken us to the toolbar. VO command home takes us all the way up to the close button. And these are the same in any app you open. You have close,
but minimize, but full screen button.
minimize, and full screen.
Actions available.
Okay.
The toolbar.
Toolbar. And we want to explore, we want to examine the items in the toolbar. So think of interacting as examining something. You may take action on it, but you first have to examine it. And when you're not interacting, you're not really examining anything. But when you want to know the details of something or find out what is contained in something, you want to examine the contents, examine the file info, then you would interact. So VO shift down
In
arrow.
toolbar. 10 items. Sidebar button.
You have the sidebar, which you can also find in the view menu.
Go back menu button dimmed.
These
Show
go
the
back
previous page.
and go forward buttons are dimmed because we don't have a web
Go
page
forward
open.
menu button dimmed. 1 password button.
That is my password manager. I may stop using it because we now have iCloud passwords for Windows.
Privacy report button dimmed.
But we'll see. Okay, privacy report, that's dimmed because I'm not on a particular website.
Address and search or enter website name. Edit text has
The main
alternate
thing you
item.
have to know is the address bar, which you don't even really need to interact in the toolbar. You can just press Command L. That will always take you to the address bar.
Share button dimmed.
There is a share menu or a share submenu in File, so you can do that.
New tab button.
You can go to a new tab, or we can just press Command T.
Show/hide tab overview button.
So Command T opens a new tab, but Control Tab navigates between the open tabs. And we'll try to open a few tabs in Safari so you can kind of see. But,
Show/hide tab overview button.
Show Hide Tab Overview is the last item in the toolbar. We can't go any further, so we're going to uninteract.
Out of toolbar.
And we are coming out now to find the other components of the window.
Sidebar group.
All right, I'm not going to show you the sidebar right now because what I recommend is only having one thing showing in the sidebar at a time. And I'll show you how to do that in just a bit. But I have my bookmarks bar in the sidebar. If we expanded the sidebar, though, we could select reading list, or we could expand or select something else, but we're just going to leave that.
Vertical splitter.
And then you always have a vertical splitter that's going to divide a sidebar, whether you're in the Finder, Messages, whatever, that divides the sidebar from the main content.
Vertical splitter.
And we don't have a web page open, but if we did, I'm just going to type Command L.
Open locate.
Ibug Today.
Ibug Today or completion. Ibug Today.
And
website.
VoiceOver was chatting at me
90%.
because it wanted to autofill. I could try to use that more, but it's just easy enough for me to type. Okay, so then if we VO left,
Vertical splitter.
we're on that splitter.
Ibug Today.
If we
home,
VO
web
right,
content.
we are on the web content. And in order to explore that web content, we would need to interact or use a navigation command like, I don't know, VO Command L to go to a link or turning, whatever. There's lots of ways to navigate, which we will discuss. Let's now go through the menu bar, VO M.
Safari.
Safari. And so I press right arrow over. We do down arrow once to open.
Safari menu. About Safari.
You have the typical about.
Safari extensions ellipsis.
Okay, there are two places where you'll hear Safari extensions. This one opens, if you press enter, it opens the App Store for you to search for extensions.
Preferences ellipsis command, comma.
There's our preferences.
Privacy report ellipsis. Settings for this website ellipsis. Clear history ellipsis.
Okay, so when you want to clear your history, one area to come is in the Safari menu, and you'll find clear history.
Services submenu.
And then you have the typical services.
Hide Safari command. Hide others. Show all. Quit Safari. About Safari.
And we're back at the beginning. If I right arrow.
File menu.
Okay, we have the file generally.
New window
it
command.
just contains
New private
the
window
typical
command
things.
shift N. New tab command T.
New window, new tab.
Open file ellipsis command. Open location. Close window command. Close all windows command option W.
There's our close all windows command. That only works though in a particular app. I don't think it. Well, I'd have to double check.
Close tab dimmed. Save as ellipsis command S.
You can save web pages for offline viewing.
Share submenu. Export as PDF ellipsis. Import from. Export book. Print ellipsis command. Export bookmarks
You can
ellipsis.
export your bookmarks.
Print new window command N.
All right. Now we
Edit menu.
edit. We'll skip over. It will get some attention when we go actually into text edit. But for now, we'll skip over that.
View menu.
All right. Here are some things that can be shown or hidden in the view menu.
History menu.
Oh,
Quick nav on.
no.
Quick nav off. History menu.
Okay.
Reserved. Edit text. Blank menu bar. App.
Why was it being
View.
difficult? Okay, here we go. Here's view.
View menu. Check mark. Always show toolbar in full screen. Dimmed.
You can't change that option.
Customize toolbar ellipsis. Customize touch bar ellipsis. Dimmed. Show favorites bar command shift B.
All right, so here are the things. You have a sidebar, but the sidebar contains the favorites bar. It contains the bookmarks. So it's easier just to choose one of these.
Show tab bar. Show status bar command / hide sidebar command shift L. Hide bookmark sidebar command control 1.
I have my bookmark sidebar showing.
Hide
So it's
sidebar.
easier just to, yours would probably say show sidebar. It's easier just to show the bookmarks bar or the favorites bar, whatever, rather than showing the whole sidebar. But to add more confusion, or hopefully not, the bookmarks is part of the sidebar.
Hide bookmark sidebar. Show reading list sidebar command control 2. Show reader command shift R.
We will get to reader.
Show tab overview command shift /.
That's showing the tab overview shows you all the tabs you have open, not only in Safari on your Mac, but in Safari on any other devices signed into iCloud.
Show downloads dimmed command option L. Stop command period. Reload page command R.
So you can stop a page from loading, you can refresh it or reload it.
Translation submenu.
Translation is a new feature,
Actual size dimmed command
which
0.
I have not actually played with.
Zoom in command +. Zoom out text encoding. Enter
All
full
right.
screen check mark. Always show toolbar in full
And
screen.
then
dimmed.
we will go through
History menu.
We have history. We'll go through that a little bit more next week.
Bookmarks
We
menu.
have bookmarks. Also, we'll do next week.
Develop menu.
Develop, you probably don't have that showing. I tried to show it just for, you can get Safari to mimic another web browser to try to open pages. Again, I've had mixed results, but you probably don't want to mess with the develop.
Window menu.
And window.
Help menu.
And help.
Search result.
All right.
Interactive. Edit
So
text.
let's go into
Edit
Safari
one
preferences with command comma.
Preferences. General button.
Okay, it already placed us in the toolbar. Remember, when you open a preferences window, all of the different categories are in the toolbar. And we'll press VO space.
Edit text.
It did not
blank.
say general selected. Okay, at least on my computer, when I VO space on general, it takes me kind of to the middle of the window. So I'm going to do VO
Toolbar.
home, VO right.
A new window. Safari toolbar.
Okay, oops, it was reading the choice first, so here we go.
A new window. Safari opens with pop-up button.
All right, you can have Safari open with a number of different things.
Menu check mark. A new window.
The first is a new window.
A new private window.
A private window, that means your browsing isn't tracked, or your history isn't saved, your cookies aren't saved. You're browsing in private.
All windows from last session.
If you're the type of person that maybe you have to close out Safari in a hurry, or for whatever reason, you realize, oh, I still needed to access something that I had open a few days ago. You may want
And all
to
windows from last session.
have Safari open with all windows from last session.
All non-private windows from last session.
But then you also have your Safari history, so you can access that as well.
Check mark. A new window.
All right.
A new window. Safari empty page. New windows open with pop-up.
I like everything to open empty. I prefer to fill the glass half full myself, or fill it all the way full. So that's me, but other people may have different preferences.
Menu check mark. Empty page. Same page.
The same page, so I guess whatever page is open now could open in future.
Tabs for favorites.
Tabs for favorites. I don't really understand what that is.
Choose tabs folder ellipsis. Start page.
Start page. So the latest Safari has a start page, and I actually enabled it a couple months ago to see what it was, but I forgot. I don't think it may have shown the favorites. It's different from a home page. I didn't find it to be that useful, but definitely play with it if you feel so inclined.
Home page.
Or a home page. For example, Ibug Today. Generally, when I open Safari, I want to immediately perform a search, so I don't usually want a particular page to open.
Check mark. Empty page.
All right, and we're back to empty page.
Empty page. New tabs open with pop-up.
Okay, so empty tabs open with. So first you have an empty window opens, and then if you remember, I said that you can open multiple tabs in one window. So when you press Command T to open a new tab, what comes up?
Edit tab. Empty
and
page.
so we have
New
the same
tabs open with
choices.
pop-up button. Menu check same page.
It's the same page, so I guess maybe the same. I'm not sure if that's the same page that's open now or the one that's open in a previous tab.
Start page.
Your start page.
Home page. Check mark. Empty page. Same page.
All
Check
right.
mark. Empty
I guess
page.
you don't have as quite as many choices in that one. Okay.
Empty page. Edit text. Blank.
Here's where you can type in a homepage address. It doesn't
Empty page.
tell you
Edit
that.
text. Blank. This item has no help tag.
Yeah, so if you do VO Shift H
You are currently on a text field. To enter
or VO
text,
Shift N is the voiceover hint. Yeah,
set to current page homepage button.
but you can kind of get an idea from the context. This button to the right says set to current page homepage, so that text field then must be a spot to enter a homepage.
Manually. Remove history items. Pop-up button.
Okay, history. Like I said, I used to be very punctual about
Menu check
removing
mark.
this history or just having it removed after one day, but your other options.
After 1 day. After 1 week. After 2 weeks. After 1 month. After 1 year. Check mark. Manually.
Or manually.
Manually.
All right.
Remove favorites. Favorites shows. Pop-up button.
Okay, so favorites. If you have bookmark folders, whether they're from other browsers or whatever, you've categorized your bookmarks, like I have travel and transportation, I have referenced different things, you could technically have one of those folders show as your in the place of
Command
favorites.
favorites. Favorites shows. Pop-up button.
So when you see the favorites in the sidebar, it could actually show one of those folders that you might have.
Ask for each download. File download location. Pop-up button.
Okay. I prefer when I'm downloading files to actually choose where each one goes. The first is one so that I don't need to bother moving it later on to its appropriate folder, so I stay more organized. And two, I download many different file types, whether it's like setup files or apps or documents, books. And so I like to be able to choose the location, but you have other choices.
Menu check mark. Ask for each download. Other ellipsis.
Other.
Downloads.
Or yours is probably set to downloads, and that is the downloads folder that can be accessed by pressing Command Option L. And when you're in Safari, pressing Command Option L brings up a window showing the downloads and showing their progress, whether they're still downloading, if they have downloaded, and sometimes there'll be an open button to the right of the file.
Ask for each download. When Safari quits, remove download list items. Pop-up button.
Okay. Notice it says remove download list items. That does not actually remove your files. So you could have the record. It's basically the record of your downloads. So you could have
Menu
that
check
removed when Safari closes.
Upon successful download.
Upon successful download.
Manually.
Manually.
After 1 day.
After 1 day.
Check mark when Safari quits.
Or we're back to when Safari quits. All
when
right.
Open save files after downloading. Unchecked. Checkbox.
Okay. To me, it always sounds like VoiceOver saying open save files after downloading, but it's actually saying safe. I checked on the spelling, and it gives an explanation of that.
Save files include movies, pictures, sounds, PDF and text documents, and archives.
Sometimes I want things for later, so I have that unchecked.
Help button.
All right.
Help button.
Great. Now we can tab.
General button selected.
And we've done general.
Tabs button.
Tabs we'll
Out of
talk
tool.
about a little bit. Some of these things we'll be skipping over in tabs because they're visual.
Automatically. Open pages and tabs instead of windows. Pop-up button.
All right. Automatically open pages and tabs instead of windows. Again, that is what I have been accustomed to in my previous web browsing experience, and that's what I like on the Mac. So you can actually do that with folders in the Finder or with web pages in Safari. In one system, I like tabs, and another, I like windows. I guess I'm hard to please. All right.
Menu check mark. Automatically.
Space, so you can have the web pages open in tabs automatically.
Always.
Always.
Never.
Or never.
Automatically. Open page command click opens a link in a new tab. Checked. Checkbox.
Okay, for us, that will be Command Enter. Your reading assignment on Safari lists some of these shortcuts, the keyboard equivalents of what the mouse is doing.
When a new tab or window opens, make it active. Unchecked. Checkbox.
Okay, I prefer not to make it active. If I am reading an article, like a support article or even a news article that links to other stories, I may want to finish reading my article first and then go back and read what else I've opened. So I don't have it, when it's active, then your focus is put on the new tab that's open.
Use Command 1 through Command 9 to switch tabs. Checked. Checkbox.
All right, so if you have a number of tabs open, rather than pressing Control Tab, you can just press Command 1 through Command 9 to go to them. And I always forget about using that one.
Show website icons in tabs. Unchecked. Checkbox.
I have that unchecked. I don't think it matters.
Command.
All right, and here are the visual things that tell you what the command and whatever click does. So let's return to the top. VO Home.
Toolbar.
Interact.
In toolbar. 10 items. Tabs button selected.
VO Right.
Autofill button.
Autofill. VO Space. And Uninteract.
Out of toolbar.
VO Right.
Using information from my contacts autofill web forms. Checked. Checkbox.
All
Edit.
right.
Using information.
What this would do is bring up the Contacts app. Hopefully you have yourself as a contact in your Contacts app because it is very helpful when doing autofill in iOS, Safari, or on the Mac.
Usernames and passwords autofill web forms. Unchecked. Checkbox.
Usernames and passwords. I've had this unchecked because I use a password manager, but I'll probably want to have it checked for our demo next week, so I'll check it.
Checked. Edit. Usernames and passwords autofill web forms button.
Okay, you can
Remove saved names and passwords.
either edit the usernames and passwords here by VO Space on the edit button, or if you go back into the toolbar, there is a passwords button. And you'll probably need to use your fingerprint or type in your Mac password in order to edit those saved passwords.
Credit cards. Unchecked. Checkbox.
Credit cards, I'm not sure if I'll check that just yet, but you
Edit. Credit cards
can
button.
basically have Safari fill
Edit or
in.
remove credit card information.
Okay, edit or remove or add or remove credit card information. I'm sorry, I keep speaking over the prompts. But basically, even if you use Apple Pay, if you have that set up in the wallet on your Mac, that is different from storing credit cards in Safari. So if you want to use them in Safari, you'll need to add them manually.
Other forms autofill web forms. Checked. Checkbox.
Other forms. Maybe you've visited other websites with custom forms. For example, Bookshare. I think in one of these demos, I started to fill out a membership form, even though I already have a membership.
Edit. Other forms autofill web forms button.
So basically, if you go into Edit, you have a table of sites, and you can either remove one individually or remove them all. And these are cleared out, I believe, when you empty your Safari history.
Help button.
All right, let's go to our next category.
General button. Tabs but auto passwords button.
Passwords is the same as pressing the edit button in autofill. And again, you'll have a table of passwords. The Mac now gives you some security recommendations. I don't think I guess my passwords wouldn't be spoken, but if there's interest in looking at Safari passwords, maybe we can do that. Otherwise, we're moving on for now.
Search button.
All right, search. VO Space and Uninteract.
Out of toolbar.
VO Right.
Google. Search engine pop-up button.
Google is set as the default, but you can press
Menu
space
check mark.
or VO Space on the menu to get your other choices.
Yahoo.
Yahoo.
Bing.
Bing.
DuckDuckGo.
DuckDuckGo.
Ecosia. Check mark. Google.
All right. I don't think in some browsers you're able to add a custom search engine or type in a URL for another one that may not be listed. I don't think you can do that here, but at least you have a few choices.
Google. Search engine include search engine suggestions smart search field unchecked.
I like to
Checkbox.
have suggestions off. I generally know what I'm searching for, or Safari is already, or VoiceOver rather, is already too busy chatting at me with autofill stuff. So I really don't want it to keep chatting at me more with suggestions. So I have those off.
Include Safari suggestions dimmed unchecked. Checkbox.
But a lot of this is personal preference. Okay.
Include search engine suggestions smart search field unchecked.
If includes search engine suggestions was checked, then
Include Safari suggestions dimmed
you could also check include Safari suggestions. But since the other one is unchecked, then this option is dimmed.
Enable quick website search checked. Checkbox.
All right, quick website search. It's always a feature I forget about, but it's really neat. Basically, there are certain websites which allow you to type in their name, and then a space, and then you could type in the content that you're searching for on a website. For example, Bookshare, I might type in bookshare.org and then space The Great Gatsby, and it would automatically bring up the search on Bookshare for that item. Not all websites support
Enable quick website search.
quick website search, though.
Manage websites button.
All right, and you can manage the websites, kind of same
In dialog,
thing.
website, remove button, website, table.
You have the table or list.
DB training, YouTube, 200.
And if you want to remove a single one, you could VO right.
Remove button.
And or
remove all button.
There we go.
Done button, default.
And there's done.
Manage website.
And that's like the custom
button.
autofill sites as well. So if you see a set of like a table or how it works in one thing, then chances are it will work similarly in another set of options. Okay.
Preload top hit in the background smart search field, unchecked, checkbox.
I don't have that checked.
Show favorite smart search field, unchecked, check.
I don't have favorites showing in the search field because it's not, I don't think it's very useful. You can't just down arrow to access the favorites. You have to, VO right from the address bar and then interact. And it's just easier to have them showing in the favorites bar or the bookmarks, whatever.
Help button.
They are actually different. Favorites are the sites that you want to have quick access to, and bookmarks are those that you might, I think because you can only have like 9 sites and favorites. Well, you might be able to have more. But anyway. All right, let's tab.
General, tabs button, autofill button, passwords, search, security, private security button, search button, security button.
Okay, we're not going to go into that. Basically, it's checked to be warned about fraudulent websites. If JavaScript is giving you problems, you can enable or disable it. Probably something you would change by consulting the website or somebody else that's maybe trying to help you. So not too much to worry about there.
Privacy button.
Privacy. Okay, we have a few things. I press space, uninteract with VO shift
Out
up
of
arrow.
toolbar.
VO right.
Prevent cross-site tracking, checked, checkbox.
So basically prevent Facebook, from seeing where you go on Google and seeing that you happen to order Uber. Well, I guess that's done on the iPhone, but you get the idea.
Cookies and website data. Block all cookies, unchecked, checkbox.
No, you don't want to block all cookies.
Manage website data button.
Okay, in Manage Website Data, you can either delete the cookies for a specific website or delete all the cookies. And removing cookies is actually different from removing history. History is more kind of a record of where you've been, what sites you've gone back and forward to, what your quick websites are, different things like that. But cookies are actual information the website store about you, or the history lets things load faster, potentially, but, cookies it's always a good idea to clear those out from time to time. And clearing Safari history does not clear the cookies. So you may want to come in and remove them by going into privacy.
Apple Pay and Apple Card. Allow websites to check for Apple Pay and Apple Card website tracking, checked, checkbox.
Okay, I have only found Apple Pay to work on, well, you guessed it, the Apple website. This option is checked, but I think there are more sites that probably support Apple Pay. I just haven't come across them.
Safari allows you to make purchases on the web using Apple Pay and Apple Card with Touch ID on this Mac. Dimmed. Help button.
All right, and we'll tab.
General button. Tabs, autofill, passwords, search, security, privacy, websites button.
Okay, websites. So
Private websites button selected.
You can basically,
Out of toolbar.
you can make a number of different customizations for websites.
Preferences table, reader, selected.
So here are the different categories of the settings you can adjust for a website or for all websites.
Content blockers, autoplay, page zoom, camera, microphone, screen sharing, location, downloads, notifications, pop-up windows.
All right, so
Reader.
if we go back up to Reader, for example, and VO right,
Automatically use Reader on the websites below. Website settings for Reader table. ibugtoday.com, off pop-up button.
And so if you wanted to use Reader on ibugtoday.com, always you would interact
In website settings
via
for
right
Reader,
to off,
ibugtoday.com,
or
off
I'm
pop-up
sorry,
button.
you'd interact again,
In Ibug
because
Today,
interacting once in the table, if we're
go
just
to cell
viewing the table, we don't have to interact. But if we're
ibugtoday.com,
wanting to actually make a change in the table, then we do. So,
off pop-up button.
or we're examining the specifics of one item to change that item. Okay, so I don't want to turn it off, or on, but you would basically choose off or on in that button.
Out of
If I
ibugtoday.com,
uninteract
off
from
pop-up button.
iBug Today specifically, we can
Out of
uninteract from the
website setting.
table and then down arrow.
Remove button. Website
Okay,
settings in
actually,
website ibugtoday. Currently open websites. Currently open out of website.
okay, so
Remove
that was
button when visiting other websites.
okay, I'm sorry. When visiting other websites is not part of that table. It's a different
Off
thing.
pop-up button.
So you could customize it then for all websites. And in the Safari menu, you can actually there's a bit of a simpler interface for doing this that doesn't include as many options, but that's the gist of customizing websites.
In toolbar,
Okay.
advanced extensions button.
Extensions basically allow you to manage the extensions you have installed, enable, disable them, remove, customize their options if they have any.
Websites
Okay,
advanced
so
button.
advanced.
Out of toolbar. Smart search field. Show full website address checked. Checkbox.
Show full website address. That is useful if you like to go to the address bar and do Command A to select the full link and Command C to copy. So I have show full website address checked.
Accessibility. Never use font sizes smaller than unchecked. Checkbox.
If you're relying on your vision, you could turn up the font.
9. Press tab to highlight each item on a web page. Checked. Checkbox.
Hopefully the option press tab to highlight each item on a web page is checked, but it seems like in some Mac OSs it is checked and some it isn't. Basically, if it's not checked, you will not land on links when pressing tab. And if you rely heavily on the tab key, you may want to check that option.
Option tab highlights all items except linked. Reading list. Save all. None selected. Western ESO Latin.
All
Change
right,
settings.
and then there's nothing else really here we need to change. So, all right, so we can do Command W.
Close window.
And then VOM.
Web menu bar. Apple.
And
Safari.
I'll
File.
just show you
Safari. About Safari. Preferences and privacy report. Settings for this website. Ellipsis.
The settings for this website.
Settings. Site preference.
So it may be easier for you to come here when you visit a particular website.
When visiting this website. Use Reader when available. Unchecked. Checkbox.
So again, that's a checkbox for the Reader.
Enable content blockers. Checked. Checkbox.
It's kind of like the Format Options button that you see to the left of the address bar on the iPhone.
Page zoom. 100% autoplay. Stop media with sound. Pop-up windows. Allow. Pop-up allow. Pop-up.
I've chosen to allow pop-ups on iBug Today. All right. And then you can just press Escape
Edit text with
to
autofill.
close that.
iBug
Okay.
Touch ID.
No, we're not touching
Touch
ID
ID
to fill
login.
any. We're not
Out of
wanting to
iBug.
fill in any passwords. Okay.
Today.
So
Web
I'm going to go to the beginning of the website content. Or actually, we're going to jump
in
into the
bookmarks. Search
content
bookmarks.
here.
Scroll area.
That's the
2
bookmarks.
items in iBug Today. Website.
Normally, when you type in a web address, you
login.
won't have to
Log
jump
in.
into the content, but it kind of lost our place a little bit. So this is kind of a preview of next week. We'll be talking about QuickNav and the QuickNav rotor. I'm going to be sending a link with this lesson, which is kind of a preview of next week, where Herbie demonstrates navigating his favorite website, or one of his favorite websites, using some of the techniques I will discuss. So for now, does anyone have any questions?
Mute all checked. You are sharing computer sound.
And you are able to unmute.
Just don't use too much. I used basically.
We can't hear you. Are you, Jason?
Well,
are you
mine
actually?
was still hot, so I put it on after. But if
Huh?
you microwave it with the pesto on, I think it would be better. I haven't tried it, to be honest.
I'm so
This
okay.
is Marian.
Yeah, Marian.
Well, I guess the only question I can think to ask is that, I've used Safari on the iPhone now for, 6 or 7 years or something like
Awesome.
that. And
Okay.
so would you say it's radically different, using Safari on the Mac
You
from
just have
using it
more
on the iPhone?
you just have more options. So on the Mac, you can, in addition to using your trackpad, which is like the iPhone, you can use the keyboard and what's called Quick Nav. The way so on the trackpad, you turn your fingers to access the rotor. On the Mac, you turn Quick Nav on by pressing the left and right arrows down together. That turns Quick Nav on, and then up and right goes forward in the rotor. So I
Safari.
can just kind of
Oh. Quick nav on.
so I have Quick Nav on, and if I go like to headings,
Characters. Words. Window spots.
it starts with these things I don't have in the web rotor,
Content
but
chooser.
that's okay.
Misspelled.
Okay.
Headings.
And then I down arrow.
Heading not found. Edit text with autofill in bookmark search bookmarks.
Let's see.
In Ibug today. Website password. Log
Okay,
identify
it's
yourself
wanting
with
to-
back. Touch ID to autofill with
Okay,
Janelle.
this website's
Allen.
wanting to be difficult
Edit
because of the
touch ID.
password, but you can basically that's the
Okay.
simple,
text, blank.
or you can
One
use
password.
single letters to navigate
One
a
password lock.
page,
Empty
like
to-
H for heading, B for button. So
Zoom.
there's just more options.
So
You are
you can
sharing
only
computer
use
sound.
pressing a single letter like that if you're in Quick Nav, right?
Right.
With VoiceOver on.
Yep.
Okay. Because that sounds useful to find links and
It is,
buttons
believe
and
me.
stuff.
It is very
Yeah.
useful. Yeah.
This is Rita.
Yes, Rita.
Did Jason, I don't want to interrupt Jason. Did he have, I don't know if Jason was trying to ask something, so I didn't want to jump ahead of him, but.
Yeah, I don't know.
That wasn't me. I don't know if that was somebody else.
Somebody might have just had an open mic. Okay.
Okay, great. I just didn't want to interrupt.
Okay.
The question about where you are. Okay, when you open Safari and you turn on Quick Nav, and I understand that you could, if you turn on Quick Nav, okay, then if you do VOQ, it will turn on single letter navigation.
Yeah.
Right? Correct?
Yep.
And then you could hit H for heading. Okay,
Yep.
so say you're at a heading and there's an article you want to read. Okay, I haven't tried this yet, so this one. How do you then read the content of the heading that you just found?
Excellent question. Yeah, you would actually use, so when Quick Nav is on, you actually use the right arrow to move forward in the content to read and left arrow to move back. So the content is organized into like these chunks. And so you'll come across the headings if you just use the right arrow key, but you'll also find the content. So if you used H to go to the heading and then you pressed right arrow once, that would take you'd start reading the beginning of the article if the web page was designed that way.
So like, say, for example, let's just say I was looking up a recipe for oatmeal cookies. Okay. And so I went to all recipes and I found, an oatmeal cookie recipe.
Yep.
Okay. And then I did Quick Nav, heading, first recipe, and I think I'm at the recipe.
Yep.
And the first heading says ingredients. Okay.
Yep.
So do I keep Quick Nav on and just hit the right arrow key?
You can. Yep.
It'll read that. Will it read that whole body of text? Will it read like, 2 sticks butter, new line?
It might. It's really dependent on how the web page is laid out. If you have Quick Nav off, then you could use the arrow keys to read it line by line. So it's kind of, yeah.
Okay.
So you, it's kind of weird. I know how that works, but.
Okay. So you get to your, the objective here is to get where you want to go, and then maybe turn Quick Nav off and then use the arrow keys to read line by line.
if you want to read line by another option is there are actually other commands. We're going to get to a lot of this next week. I am so sorry. I was hoping to cover a little bit more, but we will cover all of this next
You are
week.
sharing
Because you can do VOU to get into the web browser, and you don't have to have QuickNav on. You can do VO Command H, still with QuickNav off, to get to the heading, and then you could read from there. So you don't QuickNav. You don't always have to use it.
This is Nancy. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was just wondering, could you also use, since we talked about trackpad, could you also use a swipe down with 2 fingers when you found the heading you wanted to read the contents like you would on your phone?
You could, yeah. But if you really needed to go line by line, and sometimes I don't like to read that way. It just depends. I need to absorb things a line or a chunk at a time. So that's where you would use the quick nav off and the down arrow if you really needed to know what was on each line, or you'd use right arrow if quick nav is on to read kind of one chunk at a time, which could contain one or more lines.
You can also use some of the quick keys with the quick nav off if you really are wanting to read line by line. So, for instance, like Shift Command H will move you by heading.
Yeah, VO Command H.
VO Command H.
I mentioned that. Yeah.
It won't work for everything. Like if you're wanting to find a button, I don't know of a way to find that without the quick nav off. But if you're needing to read line by line, you can use those commands, and then there are some limitations with that though too. But
yeah, that's what I was trying to explain. But yeah, we will get into the nitty gritty of that next week, and we will be reading some articles, and I'll be sending you the YouTube video that Herbie created where he demonstrates, the way he likes to browse the web. So. Yeah.
You guys are awesome. Thank you very, very much.
No, thank you.
This is Rosanna.
Yes, Rosanna.
If you do quick first letter navigation, once you go into QuickNav and you want to use links to see what's on a page, if you do L for links, does it put it in a list format so that you can arrow down?
That's where you would want to use VOU. And then so you bring up VOU, that's the kind of the web browser. You right arrow over to links or headings or whatever. And so then you would, once you get to links, you would down arrow. And that is kind of your list of links on the page.
And then you can just do VO space to open it?
Or enter. What you do in the web well, okay, I'm going to get to all of this next week.
Right.
Yeah, no, we're not done. We have a Safari Part 1 and a Safari Part 2. We haven't gotten out of the jungle yet.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in one, that's for sure.
Okay.
But this is Nancy. If I could just say the thing that used to frustrate me when I was first learning this, you do have to select it twice. If you're trying it this week, if you're in links, remember to hit the VO space twice to open the link. Otherwise, it's an act of frustration. Like, what the heck's going on? Why?
Yeah, or press enter twice. However, pressing it once moves to the actual link, but then you have to press it again to activate it.
That's important. Okay.
But that's only if you're using VOU. That's accessing the web browser category specifically.
Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense.
All right, I may have to make the Safari lesson like the mail lesson where we do all this navigation first. All right. But yeah, are there any more questions?
February 9th.
Are we really halfway through?
I thought somebody was saying something.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, there's Jason. I said the wrong way. I was just curious. Part of I was having issues with my Windows, and so I usually use my Windows laptop just because everything's connected with Zoom.
Yep.
As I was trying to do the Zoom on my Mac, I was getting prompted by Zoom on the website that I should use Google Chrome. Is there? I haven't tried that yet. I mean, do you guys navigate between multiple browsers on the Mac?
You can. Safari works pretty well for most things.
Okay.
I don't know why you'd have to have Zoom.
You
if
could
you
just
use,
download the Zoom app.
Yeah.
Yeah, download the Zoom app for your Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just hadn't done that yet because I have the Mac Mini, so it doesn't have a built-in mic. So I just didn't want to be like halfway through and lose
Okay.
Bluetooth. So. But okay, yeah, I was just kind of curious. So, like Zoom itself seems to be pushing me to go ahead and download a Google Chrome or Firefox, which I was like, oh,
There are
it may not have a
extensions
Safari
for
extension.
well, there are extensions for Zoom, but yeah, you don't really. The easiest way, I think, the extensions are more like for calendar stuff. I don't know, but I think
Okay.
it's just easiest to download the app.
Okay.
Yep.
Before we go, so I see Nancy. Nancy, are you on here twice, or is somebody cloning you?
Somebody's cloning me. Da 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 da. Yes, I'm on there twice because I went downstairs and ate
Okay.
dinner. So sorry, I forgot to.
No, I just want to make sure because we have an absent student, and I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that they weren't somehow like logging in as you or anything before marking them as
No.
absent. So
Sorry, no, I left my computer on up here. I'm back
okay.
upstairs.
Nope, just wanted to double check.
All right. Well,
Are we really halfway through this class?
oh my
Yeah,
goodness. What
Herbie
week are
Allen has
we
left the
on?
meeting.
I think next week we'll be halfway through. I don't know. Well, maybe. Let's see. We have. Yeah, I don't know. We go until March 23rd. So.
Wow, that's
Oh, wow,
awesome.
so we have another month to go. Yeah.
Yep.
More than a month, yeah.
A
Lots
month.
to learn.
More than a month that you're stuck with me.
Oh my
This
gosh,
is awesome.
no.
Okay.
I'm gonna have
No,
you on
I was-
speed dial after March 23rd to know.
Yes.
I was actually more thinking, how the heck are we going to learn all this stuff in 6 more weeks?
Yeah, well, it's going to take a lot of time and practice. What it's going to do.
That it does. Yep.
But you know what? By March 23rd,
Herbie
we'll
Allen
be
has joined the meeting.
practically into spring.
Yep. All right. Well, everyone, I hope you have a great week. And if you have time, be sure to come to some of our other iBug events. And I will see you back. And don't forget, we do, I am here usually by 6:30, sometimes 5 minutes earlier. So if you have questions, come on in early and we will.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hey,
All
you
right.
didn't announce the movie,
No,
it's
I'm
public knowledge
Sandhya
now?
I don't know what it is. Sandhya can tell us. I knew it sounded
Sandhya?
like a bad one, but
Oh.
I've never
Oh.
seen. I don't know.
I guess I'll have to wait for the
I don't know where
announcement.
Sandhya is, but yeah.
Okay.
I will. If you're on, do you get our iBug
It
announcements?
will get announced though on the Facebook page and Twitter and all that. And if
Definitely.
you're part of the email list, you'll definitely. So
I know.
they usually
I
send
thought
out that announcement tomorrow.
I thought he
so.
announced it last night, so I was hoping to get
Rita
a
Howells
little
has
jump.
left the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the benefit
All
of
right.
coming to Buzz. All right.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
All right.
Thanks, you
Yeah,
guys.
Thank
thank
you
you.
guys.
Yep.
Hey, Herbie, how did your lesson go on Friday?
Meeting.
It went good. I sent you a text yesterday.
Okay, let's stop the recording.
Marianne will
Oh, sorry.
has left the meeting.
And it's not wanting to.